Hi everyone, welcome to our 41st video session. We're here today with Laurinda, the founder of Kind Karma. And before we begin with her introduction and a little bit more about her, we'll introduce a little bit about what Impaction does and what we do at video sessions. Then you can see some of the people who have joined the call today. Impaction makes the social impact space more accessible, especially for young people and business professionals. And the purpose of video sessions is to get everyone around the world to have some face to face in the social impact space in ways that, showcase inspiration and even collaboration that is desperately needed in social impact. So we're trying to bring the human component to the center of social impact. So I'm going to start with an introduction of myself. I'm Shivani, one of the co-founders and the CEO of Impaction. I'm going to ask Dan to introduce himself next.
Yeah, I'm Dan Heiniger. Here in Chicago. I'm new with Impaction as Community Outreach and Engagement Coordinator.
Thanks, Dan. Kayla, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm a student in Chicago at DePaul University, and I'm kind of undecided right now, but I'm thinking of studying political science and documentary filmmaking.
Awesome. Thank you. Roger, do you want to go?
I'm Roger from Boston. I run a company called Idea Trek, and we work with early stage companies to get them launched.
Thank you. Jennifer, do you want to go?
Sure, I'm Jennifer Moreau. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I'm founder and CEO of my company called World for Good, and we elevate human rights through making and selling tote bags.
Great, thank you. Today we're interviewing Laurinda Lee-Retter, the founder of Kind Karma. Kind Karma is a social enterprise that employs at-risk and homeless youth in Toronto to handcraft quality jewelry. Prior to launching Kind Karma, Laurinda was an executive assistant to CEOs and presidents of large corporations and even spent several years working in the retail industry, a period in her life that helped shape the vision that now defines Kind Karma's employment model. Today, she'll share a little bit about her journey and the road of social entrepreneurship and what helped her take the step back from her corporate career and what she plans for the future of Kind Karma.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. And yeah, I guess the intro kind of says it all, but I founded Kind Karma in 2017. I had a personally rocky year in 2016 just with my professional career. As Shivani mentioned, I was an executive assistant, and I think I just kind of outgrown the role. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I looked around at different opportunities, but I had always kind of dreamed of being an entrepreneur, and I actually started several side businesses on the go. None of them ever stuck. I would just always have different ideas and try to act on it, but then I would abandon them whenever there were challenges or things that I couldn't overcome. So I thought about what actually motivated me, and I think I found out that it was giving back and making a difference, and that's probably why the other ideas didn't stick, because they were just fly by night ideas. And so that's kind of how Kind Karma was born, based on difficulties that I had and how I could change the world through basically a different employment model, which is what Kind Karma is all about. And yeah, we make jewelry. Shivani, you can share the website more about the kind of pieces. I think when people think that at risk and homeless youth make jewelry, they always think about macaroni necklaces, I always feel like, or just very, not as refined, but it's amazing what youth can do when they have kind of somebody guiding them, or when they just have the right outlet, and they're so happy to do it. So they actually make really beautiful, beautiful pieces, and it is fine jewelry. It's made with quality materials, and we sell it to the public, and we also give proceeds from sales back to our youth to kind of help them with their goals, such as funding any education or housing or courses for their own development, so that they can reach whatever it is that they aspire to achieve. So yeah, that's a bit about me, and that's a bit of our jewelry, and feel free to check it out.
Yes, everyone, if you can check out their jewelry and a little bit more about what they do, I'll send out a link after this call with more information. But yeah, let's get started with the interview. Can you tell us a little bit about the specific challenge that you're aiming to solve through Kind Karma?
Yeah, so I think the number one challenge that we're trying to solve is creating a successful employment model for youth who face challenges that are unique to their situation. So, at risk and homeless youth, nobody runs away from a good home. I mean, it's just not done. So, I think 80% is a statistic here in Canada of at homeless youth have experienced some sort of domestic abuse or trauma. And so, they are dealing with certain mental challenges that are unique to them. And a lot of the times when they're trying to survive on the streets, I mean, if I was trying to survive, survival would come first. Education would probably not register if it does at all. So I think a lot of them don't have the educational background to get kind of a high paying corporate job that is flexible. And so given their challenges, they're in a very unique situation. A lot of the times the only options that are available to them are in the restaurant or retail industry, both of which I've worked. And I think when I worked them, I too was struggling with severe clinical depression. And I know what it was like to try to hold down a job, try to heal and recover and find a way where I can move on with my life. And so I took that period in my life and I kind of wanted to make a difference. I don't want them to feel overwhelmed. A lot of the times I felt overwhelmed working these jobs. It would force me to quit. I would never be able to hold down a job. And then I felt like there was something wrong with me. My self-confidence went down. So I think by giving them employment that they can actually keep in, a lower barrier model, that builds their self-confidence, and then they can go on to achieve whatever it is that they would like to achieve. So this is more of an art therapy based employment model. We have a higher rate of success in terms of our youth keeping jobs. And yeah, it's been nice to be able to see them thrive in a different setting.
That's great. Right? So can you tell us a little bit about what parts of Canada, and are you looking to scale in other types of countries or cities?
Absolutely. So, yeah, we are right now based in Toronto, which is one of the largest cities in Canada. And so I think in large cities, youth tend to fall in the cracks more. They're just one in millions. So nobody really notices them unless they reach out to services, which a lot of them are not able to. So I think that's where we are, and I would love to scale definitely and open, Kind Karma offices in other major cities across Canada and possibly across the United States as well.
How do youth find you? How do they find out about Kind Karma and your opportunities?
Yeah, so we actually partner with organizations, other charities, nonprofits in Toronto who also work with the same demographic. So a lot of the times we'll work with shelters and we'll work with youth employment agencies dedicated to at-risk and homeless youth. And a lot of them get resumes. And so they try to find placements for youth. And the ones that maybe don't fit the traditional employment avenues, that's where they'll just reach out to me. They'll ask me to interview with youth, and then I'll just chat with them, and then we'll hire them if it's the right fit.
That sounds good. And how many youth are going through your programs right now, and what percentage do you think you end up hiring?
We actually hire probably about 95 to 100%. Like, I think anybody who's ever reached out with a youth, we've always kind of hired them, whether it's for a certain period of time and then they decide they want to do something else, or there's a lot that have stayed on. We actually right now have 4 youth that are employed. And the reason for that is just I want to be able to make a significant impact in their life. So, I mean, although we could hire 50, I don't want to stretch it so thin. We are at the core only 2.5 years old. So, I mean, we're not a massive company. And so for us to hire 50 youth, they would probably not get enough work or enough attention in order to make an impact in their life. So I think we've decided to keep it kind of small. Some youth have moved on, and so we have hired probably 20 or so youth over the course of our existence, but I think some youth have decided to go different paths. Some have returned to school, So some have decided, they want to pursue something else, which is totally fine as well. And so we have worked with about 20 youths, but right now we have 4 currently in our employ.
So, can you tell us a little bit about, the 20 youth that have gone through your program and ultimately, you said some have gone on to schooling, but what are the different avenues that they've taken after this program?
Yeah, so I think we've tried to kind of mentor them as well in terms of their life goals. One of our youth decided she wanted to pursue a career in art. So she's decided she joined, she was actually, when she was with us, part of an art community. So she was more involved, or she transitioned to get more involved in that community, create art, and then she wanted to kind of make a living selling art. So she took that avenue. One of our youths ended up going to university out in British Columbia, which is on the West Coast. She's there now, and I think she's doing amazing. Another one of our youth wanted to be a graphic designer, so she ended up leaving and pursuing a full-time graphic design job. I think when you're a youth, you're still trying to figure out what exactly you want to do in your life. And I know that was true for me. It took me forever to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I think that's what they're doing. And whether this is just something that helps them get to where they decide what they want to do, or if it's something that they actually love and decide to stay, we're happy to support either way.
That's amazing. Does anyone have any questions for Laurinda and more about the mission of her organization?
First of all, thank you for what you do. I think it's amazing. Anytime you can open up some hands-on learning to young people to open up their minds, because if you're not exposed to it, you don't know if you're good at it or if it's something you'd like to do. A big part of what my career has been working with young people who have trauma, knowing that that is a lot of your population. You mentioned partnerships in the community. How are you specifically working on providing that resource for those who have trauma?
Yeah, so we right now we launched another aspect of the company. It's called Kind Karma Mentors, and it's just amazing. I really truly believe that in that aspect of karma where you do something good and people want to join in and give back as well. A lot of our customers that we come into contact with are always asking us how they can volunteer, and it's kind of hard. I know everybody's got a busy schedule, so we've tried the volunteer route where people come regularly, but it just never worked out. And so one thing that I thought about was a lot of our youth have questions about aspects of life, career choices, health and well-being that I might not necessarily have all the answers to, but we have professionals that buy our jewelry that are probably better suited to answering those questions. So we've launched this Kind Karma Mentors program where customers can sign up to volunteer, whether it's just 1 hour, or if they want to keep it a regular thing, they can, but we'll connect them with youth who might have questions that are specific to their area of expertise. So, and we also do have these volunteers who come in and host impromptu workshops. So we had like a yoga session with our youth, and we had a yoga instructor come in. We tried to talk to them about mindfulness. We had somebody come in as well who was an at-risk youth herself, and she did a workshop about how she dealt with, trauma and all of these issues that she's gone through, to see if they could relate and maybe take something out of. And she's volunteered her time to help with if they have any questions after that. So it's all connected as well, because as much as we are focusing on the employment piece, if you're not healthy outside of work, it's going to impact how you work. So I think for us, it's been a little bit of a juggle too, to find that balance to create that holistic employment method.
I have a question. I find it very admirable about what you're doing, and I love hearing your story. And I have 2 questions right now. The first one is the structure of how you set your company up, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit, and why you did that. And then my second question is, with the money that the youth is earning, do some of your mentors help them set up a savings account or some money management?
Yeah, those are both great questions. So I set it up actually as a for-profit. We are a social enterprise, and that was just me not wanting to fill out all the paperwork of being a nonprofit and or getting charity status. Charity status in Canada, to get a charity registration number, it takes 3 years, I think, which is silly. And then a nonprofit, there's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of reporting and things like that. So I just set it up as a for-profit. And I love that now there's this rise of social enterprises where it's not it's not exclusive. So in order for a company to do good, you don't necessarily just have to be a nonprofit or a charity. You can still do good now being a for-profit business, which I love that there's more awareness towards that. So yeah, I set it up kind of as a for-profit. And then to the second part of your question, we try to help our youths with money management. I have been trying to talk to one of our mentors about coming in and talking to our youth. I think it's something that, especially when you don't have money or a lot of it, or even in school, we don't teach how to budget or all those things. So I'm working with somebody to have them come in, but regularly I check in with my youth. And I think one of the questions that I always ask them is, how is your money? How is your budgeting? How is it for the month? And I try to chat with them a bit about managing their money better and making sure they have enough to last the month. So I do regular check-ins with my youth one-on-one, actually. So I meet with them once a week and one-on-one individual. We talk about any challenges they're facing, anything they want to bring to my attention, any trauma that's going on in their life that they just feel like they need to get off their chest. And it is a very safe space. There's no topics that are off the table. You can talk to me about anything and I will not judge you. There's no repercussions for anything that you do. It is a safe space, unless obviously it's harmful to the company. But in terms of your personal life, there's nothing that I will ever reprimand you for. I understand everyone makes mistakes. I think money management is a huge topic, and I am working to see if there's somebody who can come in and host a session post when everything gets to open again.
I love how close you are with your employees. I like that a lot.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's definitely been one of the most rewarding aspects of this, is as much as, sometimes the business side of everything can overwhelm you, but when you actually talk to them face to face and I know every one of them and what they're struggling with, and it's confidential, but it's definitely been most rewarding to see them overcome those.
Thank you so much, Laurinda. And I actually wanted to jump into some of the logistical parts of your organization. So what are some of the biggest challenges that y'all are facing right now?
I think right now, so with the pandemic, it's been a little bit of a struggle just trying to figure out the logistics of how to work with our youth when we can't physically meet them, how to divvy up the work and make sure that they are still employed, whether or not we would even have enough sales to keep them employed. That's kind of been weighing on my mind, but we're really lucky that we have such a great community. And so everybody has banded together. People have still ordered online. We're still getting website traffic. So we haven't laid anybody off. We are employing all of our youth. And basically what I had to figure out now was how to keep them employed. So with one of our youth, we have her she's transitioned into helping with social media and all of those things because she's really great at it. And another one of our youth, so I mail supplies out. So two of our youth are currently making jewelry and I send them packages with all of their supplies so they can still continue that at home.
So I know you touched on how you're trying to combat this issue and you're trying to transition youth to different types of work that you're working towards, but as in transitioning to social media and whatnot, what are some of the ways that you're still able to reach your goals even with these challenges?
I try every year actually to write down the goals for the year, whether it's, a sales goal or what we want to achieve with our youth or what office location or anything. I'll write them all down just as a guideline for where we want to be. And I think for me, it's important for me to kind of keep track of those as the year goes on and manage all the little aspects of it. We would love to just be able to keep our youth employed right now. And then we would also just, love to increase our presence, increase our sales, because that means that's what we can give back and how many more youth we can employ. So I think that's still our sales goal. And it's just a matter of pivoting the strategy. So whereas before we might do a lot of events in order to increase awareness and sales, now we have to just pivot and do it more online and create more of an online presence. So overcoming those challenges during this. So now we are launching a new ambassador program where we're working with some influencers to see if we can leverage their audience to spread the word about what we're doing. We have more ads running in terms of Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to launch some Google ads and then just sending out more newsletters and creating a more robust online presence in order to spread that awareness when we can do it in person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about your customers? Like, what are the types of people that are, buying some of the jewelry, and maybe some feedback that they've shared with you, and specifically about tying more to these mentorship circles that you've created with your customers?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because we have customers that just are such a wide range of individuals that everyone's always like, "What's your ideal customer?" And I can think about, and I've always got this kind of archetype where it's like, yes, it's your professional. She's young and she's got a little bit of disposable income and she just wants to do good, but she might not have, copious amounts of time to volunteer. So she's very aware of, the environment and the impact that every purchase has on the world that we are creating. Every time we spend money, we have a say in what kind of world we want to invest in. But then at the same time, I have retired grandmas, and they're some of our most loyal customers and are always reaching out and asking me personally because they met me at a show and asking me how I'm doing and how our youth are doing. And then you have really young, individuals who they don't have a professional career yet, but they still want to give back. So we have a wide range of customers. And then we also have customers that just like the jewelry, to be honest. The social mission is secondary and it's not as important. But I think it's wide ranging, but we are lucky that we can target such a wide variety of customer, where I think our most loyal ones are definitely, the ones that care about the social mission. They love jewelry as well. And that's definitely our most loyal customer, and they'll be the ones who spread the word. But we do sell to a wide variety.
Yeah, that's great. I want to open up to the community. You all have any questions at this stage? Yeah, go for it, Roger.
One quick question that's kind of cold, and then one that's not cold. Do the students or the employees or the at-risk youth, do they generate more value than what you pay them? Or do you have to make up the deficit with fundraising or some kind of revolving credit?
No, our youth actually, so we're all funded, and let me know if I'm misinterpreting the question, but we're completely funded through sales, and our youth are paid basically hourly wages for the hours that they work. And then we work with them to develop their specific goals, and they work towards their goals actually by creating a healthy lifestyle outside of work. To go into more detail about it, they come in when they are onboarded, they create a questionnaire, and it's a whole questionnaire about what are some things you want to learn this year? What are some things you are working towards? What do you find challenging? How do you manage your money? And then based on the answers to those questions, we'll develop activities for them to create. So if one youth is saying, I eat really poorly and I want to create better eating habits, so we'll create little activities like look up a healthy recipe, make that healthy recipe, or eat at home 3 times a week instead of eating fast food. And then for all of those activities, they'll get kind of a point or points, and then their points will translate to proceeds.
I meant the question more like, if you're paying them $100 a day or whatever, are they generating $150 worth of value for the company, or are they only generating like $50 worth of value for the company? And in which case you've got to make that up.
I think that they generate their value or more. Yeah, I think if we pay them their hourly wages, we calculate that into the cost of the piece. So say we pay a youth $20 an hour, and it probably takes them half an hour to make this piece. We calculate all of that into the costing of our piece. So the piece ends up being like the cost of materials, the cost of the labor that we'd have to pay our youth in order to make that piece, and then whatever the company needs, and then kind of all builds into the cost. So we don't have to take a revolving credit. Yeah.
The next question is, my company really wants to help out people who are homeless or otherwise disadvantaged or marginalized, and we want to teach. And the way I've been trying to do it is by offering like free trainings out there, because in our situation, they would not generate as much value for what we would be paying them. It would be more just like us bringing them in and giving them money to be trained. And I've been trying to reach out to homeless shelters or schools or other at-risk places to try to be like, hey, like we're willing to do free training. We want to do all this mentorship stuff. But I found it, and maybe it's just me, but we found it really difficult to kind of get in to be able to deliver in some of these cases. So I'm curious what it was like, if you found it challenging to get it off the ground to bring these students in, or if you had some secret trick to get through the system. All right, and that's my question. I'll go offline. And thank you so much. I'm loving all of it.
No problem. And I actually think even if with your model, I think that's so great what you're doing. And I would recommend maybe even doing third party, maybe in the private sector, they probably have more funds to pay. So even if they would fund your training, it might be worth it to approach them. I know with a friend of mine, she runs a social enterprise that helps refugees in Syria, and she's set up as a nonprofit, and she sells products, but on top of that, she does a lot of fundraising through third party, just private, to fund an education program that she has for them. So as much as shelters might be strapped because they are charities and nonprofits, they might not have the resources to be able to pay extra for training. I wonder if going to a third party, there's a lot of corporations now that have to give back in a certain way. They're mandating a lot of corporate policy to give back to the community. And so I wonder if even going to third parties and funding that might be helpful. That's just an idea.
Well, we're trying to give it away for free. So it's like we're not trying to get paid for delivering any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me trying to. Maybe it's the fact I'm just not good at communicating it, which is probably true. But so we've been trying to like, hey, we're willing to do all this free stuff for you guys, and just like donate our time for it. And I've just found it difficult to kind of get in.
Get in the door.
To be like, hey, let us help.
I got you. Okay, I get it. Yeah, for us, we launched actually at an event. It was called the Buy Good Feel Good show in Toronto, and that's where I launched Kind Karma, and it was just a huge expo, and it was for positive purpose businesses or positive impact businesses. So whether they were nonprofit, for profit, but as long as they had a good social mission. So it was probably a big event. There were, I think, about 100, maybe more vendors there. So that's where I decided just to launch the company. And by launching it at that event, I met somebody who actually connected me to the first shelter that we now still have a longstanding partnership with. So I met her and she introduced me to who ran the corporation. And so maybe even attending an event like that, but that's how we launched and that's how we made those connections. And then from the connections there, that generated word of mouth. And then we were able to connect with more shelters and more organizations that were interested in what we were doing. That's kind of how we approached it.
That's really great that you mentioned the Buy Good Feel Good Expo. Looking at that too, and the entry is so expensive. That's like $5,000.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's a great opportunity, and I'm really happy to hear you say that it was really good for you because I've been considering it too. So.
Yeah, definitely. It was great. It was a great experience. It just brought together a whole community, and we're still doing the one. Well, we were supposed to do the one this year in April in Toronto, and we are doing the one in LA. If you guys are there, please come by and say hi. Which got pushed back to October. It was a great event for us to launch at, and ever since then, it's kind of had a soft spot in my heart. So we go back every year, and we do make meaningful connections with customers and even individuals in the communities. Yeah, definitely look into it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I can also connect you to the guy who runs it if you have any questions for him as well.
Great. Thank you. So I want to go more into understanding the market behind this. So have you found others who have similar mission or who are doing a similar thing as you in this space?
So I think the space is developing. There's a lot of social impact and positive impact jewelry and accessories. There's none that are quite fit exactly what we do. So there's a lot of similar companies. There's a Me to We, 10,000 Villages. I mean, a lot that work with artisans kind of in those poverty-stricken nations. A lot of third world countries, they employ them to create handicrafts and then they sell them. We don't work with anybody in a poverty-stricken nation. It's very different because I think when people think about who initially to help, you always go to those places in the world that definitely need it. I think for us, I decided to target somebody in a first world country that might be overlooked. So I think in that sense, we're a little bit different, and our jewelry style, I think, is a little bit different. different companies that are doing similar things. I think I met somebody at the Social Enterprise Alliance Summit called Unlocked, and they're doing something super similar where they're working with women in Nashville and teaching them to make jewelry to help them overcome their barriers. So that's really cool. So there are similar companies, but not exactly.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your future? I mean, what are your short-term and long-term goals for Kind Karma?
Yeah, well, I think our short-term goal is just to see our youth continue to succeed, to give them enough work where they can also thrive, and to keep them, healthy and sane during this pandemic, and so we can all come out of it, together. And long-term, I would love to open different offices again across North America, just to help, youth that are in big cities. I would love to do that in order to grow. And I think I would also love to promote our youth. As I said, one of our youth is helping with social media and marketing. I would love to see our youth expand skills. And then as we grow, I mean, we're going to have to fill these new roles that are created. I would love to promote youth really through the company, so that we have a whole company that's run basically by street youth. Your VP of marketing could have been somebody who lived on the streets and made jewelry as a start. And so I'd love to see that as we grow. That's kind of my long-term vision, and possibly even bringing in different items. It's all about art therapy based. So I think it's a lot of just work with your hands. And there's so many things now, so many arts and crafts that we could do that make viable products. I haven't really fully thought it out, but if there's a collaboration or something with, somebody who makes home decor items or candles or things like that, perhaps that's something that we would expand to, but that's still very early stages.
That's absolutely amazing, especially what you said about having a company that's run by students. That is incredibly powerful. I've never seen something like that. Wow. Okay. So I know I kind of talked to you a little bit about this, but what does success look like for you?
I think success for the company is just seeing the positive impact reverberate through society, and it doesn't even have to be in a tangible way. It's just whether or not we give youth a professional career and they have enough money where they can give back and they can volunteer time and efforts in order to help a cause that's close to them. I think that's my definition of success. Of course, I would love to see, that whole structure where, we have a big company and it's run really by, street youth. I would love that. Would be a definite sign of success for me, just to see how our youth have progressed and that they've been able to develop skills and learn and find fulfillment in employment. I would love to see that. I think that's definitely a definition, but just seeing the impact, regardless of where our youth end up, just seeing them go out in the community, and you never know what one person's going to do. And I think that's what always drives me. It's not about the quantity. It's about creating a quality opportunity for the youth that we do get to help. And you never know where that one person or what that one person is going to go out and accomplish, given this opportunity. And so I think that's so important.
Amazing. Does anyone have any questions or anything before our next section of questions?
Have you been developing, in terms of getting them to that next stage or that next job, have you started a partnership program for other companies? And I was thinking about this from my previous question. If I'm having trouble getting in, you don't seem to be having trouble getting in. So if you can get them off on the right foot and rolling, then other companies could kind of pick up the torch. Have you developed a kind of partnership program like that, or something like that in the works to work with, to send us people? Because I'm never going to be able to get them to trust me, to send me the people. I don't know.
Yeah, as of right now, we don't have partnerships with outside companies to do that training, where we're just kind of relying on our mentorship program. And then also, a lot of our youth actually like figuring things out on their own. And I think it's just an empowering thing. So they will, a lot of the times they will love to read and research it online. And it's that whole less formal structure. I think sometimes our youth, given their background, they don't like that structured learning necessarily. I know one of our youth is actually thinking about returning to school, and she's getting a lot of anxiety about it too. Even though she wants to, when she wants to go back to school, I think it's that structured feeling. So if we created partnerships, which if that helps the youth, we'll absolutely reach out to companies that might be able to help. But I think just knowing our youth, I think that might not fit their learning style necessarily. I have one youth and he just isn't one of the smartest people. He just loves reading about all these things and always has facts and opinions and everything. And I think that's just the way that they like to learn, is more of an informal approach. So yeah, we don't have those partnerships right now. And anything that they do learn, they'll love just researching and practicing and fiddling around on their own, get that experience.
So, Laurinda, can you tell us a little bit about your team? Is it just you working on this? Do you have other people working with you?
Right now, it's just me. So I try to keep it lean. I'm really, really cognizant of being able to give back, and how much we can give back, and just making sure the foundations are strong so that we can sustain long-term growth. I'm really lucky that as an executive assistant, prior to this, I was able to look into all aspects of a company. I sat in on meetings of all kinds, from distribution to marketing to customer service to logistics, everything. And so I am well versed in all areas, although probably not a pro in any of them. But I think it's given me the advantage where I can kind of dabble in all these things. Anything that I do need to learn, I will. I have mentors as well who will help me and connect me with people who need to know. So right now it is just me running the entire operation and our youth, which is nice.
When did you launch?
We launched in 2017.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, 2017. So not super long ago.
Amazing. All right, community, opening it up again. Any questions, thoughts before we have like one more section left?
I think this is incredible. A one-person show too. That's impressive. I have a ton of questions. I'm going to try and connect with you outside of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
But if you could list, just off the top of your head, so like what are one or two big needs that you have to really kind of bring some of this together? Whether it's like a supportive resource or referral program, hiring partners, always more money. I mean, that's a given, but we'll skip that one. So like one or two big needs.
Yeah, you mean for the company or for me personally?
How about one in each?
All right. I think for me personally, is a community. And I've been really lucky that being an entrepreneur, it can be a really lonely experience. You have challenges. You want to bounce ideas off of somebody, but I mean, it's no fun bouncing it literally off a wall. So I think for me, it's having that community. And I've been really lucky that I was part of an incubator, or I am part of an incubator here in Toronto that's based out of Ryerson University. It's called the Social Venture Zone, and it's for social enterprises. And through them, I've been able to connect with other entrepreneurs who are also starting, positive impact businesses. And that community has helped me greatly, especially in times of when there's challenges or when I'm frustrated. I can just reach out to, a friend now who's also a fellow entrepreneur and just tell them about my horrible day, or tell them about something that I'm struggling with, or ask them their opinion about something. So I think for me, that's definitely a big need. Otherwise, you could just go crazy just having those thoughts in your head. And I think for the business, the need would be to have, I guess, that solid foundation on which you can grow, and having those processes in place where you can sustain long-term growth. So whether it's making sure that your pricing is right, your model is good, your partnerships are solid, so you can have the resource. Because as much as we talk about customers, our target market as well is also the youth that are out there. So if we don't hire youth, then our model kind of crumbles. So I think just having that solid foundation where we can grow, that's been really important. And looking at the different aspects of our business, our distribution, how are we going to sell to the customers, and is that viable? Is that good for scale? I think that's been a definite need for the business.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any additional questions or feedback or anything for Laurinda before we move on to closing this section? I have a few more questions. When it comes to the Impaction community, we always ask our entrepreneurs and community members, like, what is one piece of advice that you would give to our community of social innovators and entrepreneurs, people who may be interested in, starting their own journeys, but, just people who are looking to contribute to social impact?
I definitely think the one piece of advice always is to just go for it. I think a lot of the times we get so caught up in the magnitude of all the issues that we have to solve in this world, which there are many, that it can get stifling and you start to feel overwhelmed, and it kind of hinders you starting something because you're like, how do I start a business that, oh my gosh, and then I have to solve this, and then I have to solve this, and then what about this? This is negatively impacting. And I think all of that can bog down a great idea where you don't have to solve all of the problems, but if all of us collectively each solved a small portion of one, then we can really make a difference. And I think that's what prevents a lot of entrepreneurs from starting. It's happened with me too. I mean, when I started, I was like, oh, I'm going to help youth. And then I was like, where am I going to get materials? That's not ethically sourced. Oh, no, that's not good. And then I was like, what about packaging? And then I realized, what's my main goal? What do I really want to do? And and I realized it was to help youth. So that's my main goal. I'm going to work on that. I can work on, sourcing ethically. I don't source unethically, but that's just my main goal. And then my packaging, we're going to slowly transition to how can we make this more sustainable? And so it's just adding on each piece. And it doesn't mean that you're never going to get to those problems, but it just means when you start, just take one piece of it and work on it and just go for it, make that difference. And then you can always add on and grow and solve other problems as you go. But don't get overwhelmed by it. Just do it.
Absolutely. That's great advice, especially because there are a lot of people in our community, especially students, who, may not have like the extensive networks that they need to start something new and whatnot. But it shows, there are a lot of problems that are happening in the world, and a lot of times in social impact, it's systematic. So, um, there are consequences, and it's kind of like a domino effect where everything feels connected. But if you take just a portion of that and work on it in your best way, then you have to know that you're not alone. And it goes back to your point, being a part of a community is showing that you're not alone in this fight. So absolutely, thank you. I have one more question for you. So what are ways that we can help support your cause?
I think just even having me on was amazing. It's been great chatting with you because that's, more people that know about what we do, and anything from, even liking a photo, sharing what we do with the people that you meet, telling them about us. That's all amazing ways that you can support. Or, I'm always just thankful for any of that. People always think the only way that you can support a business is through a purchase, which it's nice and it's great, but not everybody has the means to do that. So, I mean, just, even spreading the word about what we do, connecting me with, anybody that you think might be able to help me. That's always a really great, helpful thing to do as well.
Absolutely. And now that you're a part of our Impaction community, we'll keep you in the loop on things like this that are going on. And hopefully you can find connections this way. And we would love to help you more direct on your mission. It's absolutely amazing. We do have like a minute left, so we have room for one more question. If anyone from the community has any feedback or thoughts or anything before we wrap up. All right. Oh, Roger.
So, I mean, I'll say something quick. This is like the dream scenario that a lot of people come up with, right? That like I could do good stuff and make a little bit of money. How have you been mentoring other? You mentioned like the community with anything. Have you been specifically mentoring other founders that are coming up through their early stages, or are you holding off on jumping into that boat yet? Which is it's okay if you are. I mean, you focus on your business, but I'm just curious if you've taken that dive.
Yeah, I absolutely have. Actually, I'm always happy to help. I'm always happy to give back and share. It's funny that you say, it's the dream job, because it's funny that I feel like I've never worked harder in my entire life at anything, but also never been happier at doing it. So it's true. It is kind of I am really lucky to be able to do that. And so I'm always happy to share my journey, what I've learned, my experiences to anybody who might find it helpful always. I think that the more that I can help other founders create the same kind of, positive impact business, I'm always happy to do it. So yes, absolutely. And I do, right now I think I am mentoring one girl who started her own jewelry company. And so, I try to give back, and I mentor a group of immigrant women. There's like a group where and they get together and they make jewelry, but they want to learn how to sell their jewelry and make it a source of income. So I work with them as well. And so I do try to do what I can.
Amazing. Jennifer, I know you had something to say, so I'll let you say it and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you so much. I just had this really great idea that Impaction should have like a Mother's Day gift guide that you send out to your community, or like a winter gift guide. And so that would be really good for the community to support Kind Karma.
Thank you.
Very cool. So kind of advertising Mother's Day in a way that showcases what Kind Karma is doing, like through purchase. Oh, very interesting. Very cool. I love it. Thank you. This was just phenomenal video session. Thank you for your time, Laurinda. Thank you for everyone's time for joining. For everyone watching, please tell your friends and family to join some of these video sessions. Anyone that you think might be interested in social good, please tell them to email us at info@myimpaction.com. Check out our Instagram, where we actually do feature our community members and the amazing work that y'all are doing. And the handle is Humans Inspiring Impact. We will see you next week for another video session. But thank you for everyone for joining this call. We really, really appreciate it. Stay safe and healthy.